So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take phone calls from Nigerians in Nigeria on the radio, and I'm going to take contributions from people who actually live in these places. Now, we don't really need calls from the US. Because she was talking mainly about Sweden, I like to discuss with people from around those European regions and Scandinavian regions. Let's talk to people in Sweden, in the Netherlands, maybe in even we could stretch it as far as Italy, maybe the UK, and the like. So let's discuss this. Credit societies or cash based societies. Let's hear, unfortunately, my problem with the girl's video is she's not particularly intelligent, so she doesn't really drive home any point, especially when she starts with iPhones and houses and cars. You see someone driving a car in Uganda, they own it. In Sweden, it's credit, but you're in the car. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. You're in the car. The rain is not beating you. Whether you paid cash for it or at the end of the day you're owing for it, you are in the car. You're not walking in the rain. I don't know if I'm making sense to you. So let's first start by trying to understand what she is talking about. So, my problem with Nigerians, especially Nigerians who live in Nigeria, is they allow ignorance like this to thrive. Oh, leave her, let her be. Ada, do you know the first flaw in her argument? Should I show you the first flaw? Let's not even go any further. Let's just take the first flaw. Okay?
Yeah.
She said in Uganda, if you lose your job, you go on the street. You're not on the street. You're in your house and you worry about school fees. In Sweden, nobody pays school fees. If owning a house is more of a priority to you than educating your child, that nation is already on the track for failure.
Aside even that, why would you have a job and then when you're out of job, you don't have enough savings to take care of yourself?
Now, let's even look at that. Let's look at that tiny little flaw. That tiny little flaw.
It's not little.
Let me tell you something. My mom comes from Romania. Ada, my mom comes from Romania. Compared to countries like Sweden, Romania is poor. Compared to countries like Sweden, Romania is poor. Adim Bad is saying I'm talking in the nonsense. You see, unfortunately for people like you, Adam, IQs don't grow on trees. You can't plant that tiny little IQ you have as a seed and expect it to grow into a fruit of IQ. So you're going to be the way you are till the day you lay to rest. So let me help you by removing you from my life, because unfortunately low IQ people don't have I don't have accommodation for you. I can't rent out my space, even if it's online, for low IQ people. So let me just take you out first of all. Let me start with that. Oh, I can't find you again, Adim Bad. All right, let's remove that guy. Let's keep only people who are intellectually sound. I don't need any intellectual dwarfs. I don't need intellectual cretins or midgets. I need people who are willing to think. So let's think this out. First problem, in her own argument, she said in Uganda, if you lose your job, you sit at home and you worry about school fees. Let me tell you, Romania is a poor country compared to Sweden. I know people who live in Sweden. Do you realize that in Sweden, the government gives you allowance for your children? Do you realize that? Whether you have a job or not, You losing your job does not mean your child is not going to eat, does not mean your child is not going to go to school. First, that's the first big hole in her argument. Another thing we need to understand when we compare Sweden to Nigeria, you are saying people who live on credit are calling Africans poor. Yes, Africans are poor. Why? Because Africans don't know how to manage their resources. We are poor in Africa. It's not about us debating about it or, oh yeah, she's making absolute nonsense. Africans are poor because we refuse to manage our resources well. I'll ask you a question. What is the minimum wage in Sweden? Do you realize that Sweden has one of the highest minimum wages in the whole of Europe? Let me tell you something. In Romania, my mother's country, you can't hire a house girl. Do you know why? Because their minimum wage is 400 euro a month. So if you hire a house girl, it means you need to pay her 400 euro a month. 400 euro a month is over 200,000 naira. Are you listening, Ada?
Yeah.
So even a maid must earn at least 200,000 naira a month. The minimum wage in America is $500 weekly. What's the minimum wage in Nigeria? $60 monthly. $60. That's if you use 30K. If you use 16K, it is like $35 monthly. Monthly, not hourly. Monthly. That's the minimum wage of a country where people can own an iPhone. Listen, I own iPhones. I have iPhone 11. I have iPhone 11 Pro. I wouldn't consider myself rich because I own iPhones. I own my own house. And that's not what makes me rich. The first thing that makes a person in a country rich is the distribution of wealth. I live in my own house in Lekki, but my neighbors are homeless on the beach. Ain't no homeless people in Sweden unless the people have drug problems. For you to be homeless in a Scandinavian country, then if you just lose your job, you think in Europe you can just lose your job, your employer can just wake up one day and say he wants to sack you like they sack people in Nigeria and bring his girlfriend? Do you really think that's an option? For you to lose your job, it means you deserve to lose your job.
Yeah.
So there is job security. There's no job security in Nigeria. Your MD can just decide that he wants his younger brother to take your position, and there you are. No labor laws, nothing. You're back on the street. Oh yes, you have that house to go and sit inside, and your children sit inside with you. They can't go to school because your society failed. I pointed out something else in my response to her. I said, do you know why Uganda is poor? Because Museveni, their president, has been their president for 35 years. If you've had the same president for 35 years, you obviously have a leadership crisis. And when you have a leadership crisis, the next thing you have is poverty either on or looming. Because those countries abroad that are doing well primarily because they have good leaders. Nigeria is where we are today, banning Bitcoin because of the crop of leaders that we have. So when you look at a country and the president has been there for 35 years, has been there since his opponent, Bobby Wine, was a child. Bobby Wine, because he dared to contest election, has been under house arrest. And you say they will not be in poverty? 38% of Uganda's population live on less than $1.90 a month, according to World Poverty Report, which you can very easily verify for yourself if you check www.worldpoverty.io. Now, I'll take this a little further. She's saying that you see someone with an iPhone. First of all, we need to cut out 38% of Uganda's population. They can't even afford an iPhone 1, let alone an iPhone 12. So that leaves us with about 60% of the population. Out of 60% of Uganda's population, I want to ask you today, do the math. How many do you think can afford an iPhone? I'll put it at 2 or 3%. So you see, one person with an iPhone is no basis for making an educated deduction about a country's state of wealth or poverty. But the fact that it dawns on you, you actually think about it, that you lose your job and you sit at home and worry about school fees, shows that your country is already on the path towards failure. Let me tell you something. My mom is Romanian. Romania is poor compared to Sweden, and education is free in Romania. By education is free, I mean quality education. There's free education in Nigeria, not this nonsense that we are doing here. Education in Romania comes with a decent meal. They give you my sister used to drop my nephew when she went to have her baby. She would drop my nephew in a daycare. They will give him books. They'll give him yogurt. They'll give him apple. They'll give him a meal. Having a child in Romania is free in a world standard hospital. Now let us talk a little bit about the credit societies and the cash-based societies. I live in Nigeria. I've borrowed money from the banks several times to fund a car. First of all, I was ripped off. Each time I took a loan from a Nigerian bank, I was duped. You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Who gives a loan for a liability like a car and pegs it at nearly 30% per annum? You don't know what 30% per annum is. In 3 years, you're paying back double.
Sure.
Meanwhile, loans in these countries are 4%, 2%, 1.7%, depending on your credit score. So imagine I had 50 million naira in Nigeria. I'll barely be able to buy a house. But guess what? If I lived in a country like Sweden, I'll put away 20 million towards the down payment of the house. I'll put away maybe 2 million towards the down payment of my car. And I will have enough money to invest. Somebody's telling me that the interest rate is 2%. I borrowed money to buy shares at a point in my life. I was defrauded by the bank. Imagine a bank charging me 27%. That's fraud. That's Yahoo, hush bank. Now, you see someone holding an iPhone, driving a car, and owning a property, and you consider that wealthy? Anyone can own an iPhone in the U. Now, another mistake people make is you see someone holding an iPhone in the UK. The next thing that comes to your mind is they didn't pay cash for it, they don't own it. Don't be a fool. You own your credit score. If you don't have a good credit score, you will not qualify to own that phone. So you don't think that just anyone. No. And for you to have a good credit score, you have to manage your credit very well. meaning you know you have to pay back, so you're not going to lose your job. You're going to work hard and make sure you're right up there when it comes to your performance as an employee. When you have a good credit score, you can buy a house, you can buy a car, as long as you're willing to pay back. Wise people don't just use their credit score to buy handbags and human hair and iPhones, because you're going to get into trouble. Wise people use their credit score to pay for education. Oh, you get a master's degree. You pay for it, and with that, you become more employable, or you go for a special training. With that, you get more employable, so you end up making more money, so you have more access to credit. Are you there, Ada?
Yeah.
While in Nigeria, for you to borrow money, you've got to actually have landed property, for instance. If you want to borrow 50 million in Nigeria, you need to have a house. Hey, let me tell you, worth 80 million. Nobody's going to borrow you 50 million on a 40 million naira house. Meanwhile, in Sweden, you don't even need to own a house. Just have a credit score. Just show them that if I take this 50 million naira, I will be able to pay it back just the way I paid back the 10 million naira I took, or the 20 million naira I took. So that is wealth in its own, access to financing. In Nigeria, anyone you see that has wealth, either one, came from a family of wealth, two, stole money or did something corrupt, three, slept their way to success. The average Nigerian does not have the opportunity to have a good starting capital. Why? Because if you don't come from a rich family, or if you're not ready to do something corrupt or illegal, or if you're not ready to go to Dubai and eat what they eat, or jump from one senator to the other, like many of our ladies do, you will not have 50 million to put in a business. Meanwhile, your little daughter that finished from university and worked for 2 years in Sweden can have access to that money. So how dare you? That's why you see a lot of people are like, Daddy Freeze, we're very hard on the girl. I'm hard on her because I look at that auntie and all I see is ignorance. Another question is, I would like to ask guys, why are you in Sweden? Why are you not in Uganda? If things were so beautiful in Uganda, you'd be in Uganda. Why are you running away to Sweden where things work? You said you moved to Sweden. If she had said I'm on holiday in Sweden, that would be different. I'll know, okay, you are Ugandan wealth, you go to Sweden and then you go. You moved. Why'd you move? Why didn't you move to Chad? Why didn't you move to Niger? Why did you move to a Scandinavian country? Where anyone, you see, that is one of the biggest advantages of Europe, the division of wealth. The fact that any Tom or Harry can have access to wealth. I know people in Nigeria who are hardworking but don't even have a room on their heads. There is no way you would be hardworking in Sweden and you'd not have a decent house with electricity, water, gas, heating. It's impossible. You'd have to be lazy. You'd have to come from a really bad situation. So all of you getting on my page and thinking she's making sense, I worry for your mental health. Making sense from what angle exactly? Can you compare the educational system in Sweden, where kids get to go up to high school for free, even in America? Same thing in Canada, same thing in the UK, same thing in Romania. Meanwhile, look at Nigeria. You've got to pay for education. Another thing is healthcare. Romania, healthcare is free. And by healthcare, I mean quality healthcare. Quality healthcare. So, You live in Sweden compared to Nigeria or Uganda. In Sweden, you get to own the car for a fraction and pay monthly. You get to own the house for a fraction. You get to get everything you want and live a good life and drive on decent roads. You don't get to inhale the fumes of generators. You don't get to listen to the noise of generators. In Sweden, you don't have stabilizers because their electricity is world standard. That alone is wealth. So I want to bring, before I even bring someone from Nigeria, I want to bring someone from online. Anybody who lives in Sweden here, I like to ask you a few questions. If you can come online, if you live in Sweden or generally in any of the Scandinavian countries, I would be very grateful if you can come online. A lot of people have since understand how ignorant that girl is. Hey, in Nigeria, you have your own money, you own your own stuff. Phone is what you want to own when you can't. Do you think NSAS would have happened in Sweden? Do you really think that? Let's even start from there. Do you think they're Fulani herdsmen in Sweden? Okay, I've got someone here who lives in Sweden who is going to give us. Someone is in France here. So I'm going to start with someone from Sweden. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Yeah, hello, Daddy. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. So you live in Sweden. Okay, what is your opinion on that girl's video?
Okay, first, I think that they just came.
Okay.
She's having some polycultural shock or whatever. So she's having questions in her mind and she doesn't know the answer. So that's the main thing. As per credit and things like that. So Sweden is a credit-based society. And even when you pay things on credit, any interest you pay, you also get tax rebates at the end of every year.
Another angle.
Yeah, you get tax rebates. So people don't mind running things on credit because come to think of it, some of those things you take on credit, you can even go and change them. So let's say a new iPhone comes out, you can just go to the shop and change it. It all depends on the contract you wrote in the beginning. From the onset. But there's still another aspect of it. You can decide to save and get those things based on, not based on credit, or at least based part of the payment, and then the rest will be on credit. So I really don't see the basics. But a question about calling Africa poor. Yes, come to think about it, most people who would have iPhone in Africa will be working millions of naira salary at the end of the month, or they're probably politicians, or they are into some other business.
Yeah, say it, Olo shows.
Yes. So that's the only way they would be able to buy an iPhone for a certain amount and pay instantly. Another aspect I would like to also come from for the girl is if there's a way with time she herself will understand and she'll begin to laugh at herself and say, oh, this is how I responded when I just came. The whole of West is a faith-based society, more or less. So there's nothing really bad about, like you said, there's nothing really bad about credit as long as you use it wisely. It's not like you're buying just everything on credit, like shoes or bags. You buy things that are worth based on credit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daddy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So you guys heard, this is not speculation. This is not Daddy Freeze in his bedroom wearing his boxers and his Free Nation t-shirt telling you about what's happening in Sweden. This is actually someone who lives in Sweden. Someone came here and just posted a comment saying the credit and debt led to the worst recession ever in Greece. Now let me break your heart. At the point where Greece was at its lowest, you cannot compare to Nigeria today. Greece, in under the weight of its highest debt, had light. They had a safe society without herdsmen and ritualists and what we have here in abundance. Let's talk about COVID-19. Nigeria is jumping from pillar to post. We lost 100,000 vials, according to reports, of the Pfizer vaccine because we lack the ability to store them. So what are we doing? We're going to get vaccines from China. I ask people, if you heard an aeroplane was made in China, will you enter it? If you go to the market and you see BMW, Toyota, Mercedes-Benz, and a Chinese car, will you buy the Chinese car if you really had an option? So why are we buying Chinese vaccine? Or why are we getting vaccines from China? It shows once again that as a society we have failed. Sweden is not going to give its citizens Chinese vaccines. If Sweden wants to collect, what's that vaccine called? Pfizer. Do you think Sweden doesn't have the capacity to store vaccines? Look at yours. How can you really base wealth on an iPhone? How myopic and ignorant and untutored, unscholarly, unlettered can you be? Like the guy said, she's obviously new in that part of the world, so she doesn't have an idea of what's really going on. He described it as her having a culture shock. You know why? It's going to pain you when anyone can get the latest iPhone. Because in Nigeria, if I have my iPhone with 3 cameras and I'm walking around, I feel special. I'm not special. So, somebody else here from Netherlands or Ireland or any of these countries where credit is available, can you please jump here and take and say one or two things? I just need one more person, then we'll open up the phone lines and just take one call.
One call, yeah.
Right, Ada, and then we'll be out of your faces. So, can I call from the US? Since we're basing this on Sweden, I want us to get people from Europe, from around Europe. American people, yes, I know it would make a lot of sense. I know you guys understand the system, but maybe we can get someone. Oh wow, Goya Princess. Okay, so I'm gonna Goya Princess. Hold on, I'm gonna keep you up. So we're just gonna do 1 minute each. So Goyala Princess, hello sir, I can't see you. Can we have some light upon you? So people will not say somebody from Ajegunle is from Sweden.
No.
All right, so real quick, I just want to take 1 minute from you, and I have another lady from France. So please go ahead and tell me.
Okay. I think from what that lady said, she's probably ignorant because she's new to the system. I came into Sweden as a master's student, and first, the way things work is totally different. I think most of the Swedish I've met while I was schooling, most things they purchase are on credit. That does not mean that the system is poor. It's like the system provide them, how should I put it? It gives them the opportunity to afford whatever they want to afford if you want. So whatever you are getting from the system, you are capable of paying back what you are working. Like my flatmate, he was working a week, and when Samsung 10 came out, he was able to go to the store and they gave it to him. And at the end of the month, they deduct 199 krona from his salary without any. He doesn't have any problem doing that, paying his rent and all that. It's as if he's paying for nothing. So they make sure that whatever you are paying, you pay without having any problem with it. So what else do you want? So for me, I totally like the system because whatever you want, if you want that, you can get it. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And finally, I'm going to bring Goyala Princess from France. Sorry, US people, I'm not bringing the US on because it will be an unfair comparison to use the US style credit when she is in Europe. As she's mentioning Sweden, I wanted to bring people who are in Sweden as against people who are in the US. Hello, madam. Can we get to see you?
Yes, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening. How are you? What part of the world are you in?
I'm actually in France.
In
Just a minute.
France. Okay, so did you see that girl's video?
Yes, I actually did.
And what is your take?
For me, whatever she said was actually our opinion because I've been in France and I can see how France has actually helped us. She said something like if she wants to get an iPhone. For me, I have an iPhone 11 Pro Max. I actually got it on credit. And I'm actually shy. It's my first time online. I'm sorry. I actually got it on credit. So when I came to Nigeria recently, I saw how people were like fancying iPhone because, I'm using iPhone 12 Max. And in Paris here, everyone is basically using iPhone. So it's not like a new thing. You see people on the streets, they cannot afford an apartment. But in Paris, you can actually do this. You just need to work hard for this. In Nigeria, you see someone working so hard and they are getting paid just 14,000 naira per month. And my salary that I receive here is like almost $1 million naira per month. If I want to get an apartment, I can get an apartment. If I want to buy a car, I can buy a car. This thing is going to basically be on credit. So why will I feel so, I don't know if I'm, like, for that lady, she's just been ignorant. That's just the truth. Because it's her first time. So I understand why she has to talk like that. She's just like, I can pay for this. If I have 1 million naira here in France, I can basically get what I want to. But in Nigeria, even to get a property in Lagos, you have to be talking about like 15 million naira just to get a land. But if I want to buy a house here, I just need to go to my bank, get me a loan, and I can afford this. So that's just my own point of view.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You did so well, even though it's your first time live.
Thank you so much.
Woo. All right, Ada. Can we take one call?
Just one. Okay. Lucky caller. Hello. Oh dear.
Or maybe we continue with the topic tomorrow?
Definitely. All right, just this call. Hello.
Yeah, I think it's very clear now. My position formally was that, I'd always known that, life over there is quite different from life here. It's so easy so people can be that.
Turn off your radio.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So people can be that poor when they are over there because they said you are like freestyle, they said you are lazy, dullard, somebody that cannot even move and just want little menial job. Even just those that are doing menial jobs still have a life and can still live a good life over there.
Okay.
So I don't think poverty, those people are poor. That's why we always look at Africans as those who like, let's give charity to the poor nation. Let's charity, they call it charity. Because they see themselves that they are more privileged, they have all these things intact. Because when we suffer, if the way we work here, if that's the way we work over there, I'm telling you, many of us will be rich.
All right. That's as far as we can go. I need to let Ada go because I've eaten a little bit into her time. You can see her voice is already shaking. Ada, you get the way I go do you strong thing like this. Chat station will go hold, radio station will just shut down till 5 a.m. in the morning. That's
I'm in the control room. I'll just set up your mic and you don't be talking and we're doing that thing here.
All right. We're gonna be back with the same topic. Because we obviously need a lot more local contribution. People also need to tell us about how their lives are locally with in comparison to people who live in Europe. So join me live and dangerous on 99.3 Nigeria Info with Ada Blessing. It's always an amazing ride. So Ada, look forward to having you or seeing you or being with you tomorrow.
All right, Daddy Free. Thank
All
you.
right, take good care.
All right, me too.
Now, I have a very good friend. I've got someone from Canada here, and this is going to be our last call for the evening, and we're going to make it short. We're going to keep it under a minute if possible. But before she talks, I want to tell you a personal experience with a friend of mine who relocated from Nigeria to Canada. He owned his own house in Nigeria. He owned his own car in Nigeria and his own iPhone. But it was a struggle until he relocated to Canada 2 years ago. Do you know that in COVID, the Canadian government gave him $35,000 as a loan to assist him start up a business, of which he gets to pay back only half of the money? And that half, he is not going to pay anything for 1 whole year. He is going to pay over a 5-year period just half, and the first year is capital interest free. He starts paying from the second year. He was able to open up a very lovely Nigerian shop in Canada with the funds, a big shop, you know. So this is someone's life from Nigeria all of a sudden to Canada. The government, which government will give you $17,000 free? Do you know what $17,000 is? That's about 15 million naira, 14 million naira. Which government is going to dash you? Which government is going to dash you about 25 million naira, of which you can pay back half of it, and then the other half you get to pay over a 5-year period? Are you going to get that in Uganda? Are you going to get that in Nigeria? I'm sorry, that auntie is not ignorant. She's mad. Hello, my darling lady. How are you doing? You are our final caller, so please tell us from your experience.
Okay, I think to some extent, she's just being misunderstood. I'll just give an example. To get a house in Nigeria, when I was in Nigeria, if you want to buy a house, you bring out your money and like pay for everything, right? But in Canada here, if I want to buy a house, it's just what I need is down payment, which is, say, if the house is like maybe $250,000, I'll just need to bring like maybe $10,000 or $15,000, and then I have a 25-year period to pay for that house. I live in it, I own it. So I think that's just what she's trying to say, that in places like Nigeria, you have your house, you built it, you've paid for it, you've done everything, it's yours. But here, I don't have to have all the money. I just need a little bit. I get this house and pay over 25 years. So to some extent, she makes sense. Our system here allows us to be able to do things we otherwise would not have been able to do.
But you know what she said? She said, how can credit societies call cash societies poor? That's where she got it wrong.
Oh, well, that aspect of it is just that she didn't use her words well.
Because I can play it for you. When the moment she said that, she lost me.
Yeah.
Because in every regard, cash societies are actually poor. Nigeria is poor. Uganda is poor. 43% of Nigerians live on less than $1.90 a day. That's
true.
Extreme poverty. Meanwhile, how many people in Canada live on extreme poverty on $1.90 a day? No one. If you're homeless in Canada, you know why? It's because you have a drug problem.
True, that's true.
So
she just lost it over there. She just didn't mix her words well. But the background of what she was trying to say is just we here, like, we have that opportunity to be able to, like, do those kind of things, even when we otherwise would not have been able to afford it. So she just mixed her, she lost it somewhere along the line. But the foundation of what she's actually saying in terms of, you know, when in Africa you own things outright, but in here you like take it on credit and pay over time. That actually is true.
I want to ask you a question. Would you rather own outright in a society like the African society, or pay as you go for 25 years in a society like the Canadian society?
Of course, I'll choose Canadian society that it is. When I was in Nigeria, I'd been working for like almost over like 10 years plus, and I could not outright own. I've been in Canada like less than 5 years, and I can do that. So of course, I'll rather choose this.
Okay. One final question
Okay.
before you go. COVID-19. Did you get any stimulus from the Canadian government?
Oh, sure. Initially, when it started last year, everybody was given, irrespective of income. We were given, I think, $700 just to like help. Then I know for businesses, because of course they are being affected, they can't take in the capacity or open or and all that. There is a check that is being given to businesses, and people that have lost their jobs or can't go back into the job market because of COVID, they are getting what they call the CRB, and that's like a bi-weekly payment of $900.
Shengbo.
Whatever.
Now, did you get any lump sum? Because I was telling a story of my friend who got a lump sum. Did you get any lump sum?
Yeah, I think that has to do with business. For business people, oh my gosh, there is so much opportunity for them. So I think your friend is in business. That's why. So people in business are getting that. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are getting money to help them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, and do have a blessed day. Thank you for joining.
You
Thank
as
you.
well. Thank you. Bye.
All right, that was Edith. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. This was an amazing expose. Lebia said, I got $12,000 last year in Houston, Texas. This year, I got 600. Oh, wow. So, thank you so much, all of you. Take good care of yourself. Henry the Great, I see you. Thank you all. Take care. God bless you. Nigerian government, ordinary Indomie did you get? You are comparing Uganda, where Bobby Wine was on house arrest for daring to contest election. You are comparing that to Sweden because you have iPhone. I struggle to see her point. But well, she does have a point. You get to own what you own. But even the people who owned what they owned and now live in a society where they don't need to own but pay over time, prefer to pay over time. A credit society, as far as I'm concerned, is way better than a cash society, even with regards to mentality. Do you think you'd have Boko Haram in a credit society? Who's going to fund them? Who's going to bankroll them? Join us tomorrow, 99.3 Nigeria Info, live and dangerous. I'm Daddy Freeze. I love you all, and thank you for joining my live.